These days, when you go to a party, all you have to do is mention the word marathon, and chances are there are several who have already completed one. Sometimes you'll even come across the hardcore marathoner that has completed dozens of them. It's one of those ultimate tests of endurance, measuring one's stamina, mental strength, and overall fitness. This 26.2 mile stretch has seemed to become the measuring stick towards the bigger goals for many runners. Lately, however, 26.2 miles doesn't seem to be enough anymore. If you really want to tap into the world of being one of those endurance-conquering junkies, you enter a race called the Frozen Otter. This is a self-sustaining race where you test every dimension of your mental stamina and physical endurance. Armed with only a backpack of food, water, required survival gear, and perhaps trekking poles, it's up to you, and you only, to combat this laborious trail within a 24-hour period. Do that, and you're put on a list of adventure-seeking elites called the Frozen Few.
Frozen Otter, it is a 64-mile trek, and what makes it difficult is that you have to do the 64-mile trek in the cold, in the snow, and in under 24 hours.
I went into it last year not knowing the event very well, and I discovered right away after the first mile that this was not your typical race. My running skills had very little effect on the Otter trails.
The Otter, you're competing against yourself. You know, can you finish it? You know, what's your mental stamina, your physical stamina, the terrain. I've heard is not the best and not the easiest. The weather, you know, the cold, the wind, you're burning through a couple thousand calories and you're not being able to eat. I mean, that's a huge challenge, I think.
Well, the Frozen Otter, first of all, it is freezing. It was cold, -1 when we started, and couldn't get warm. My water pack froze right away, so I was like, let's just get rid of that. And I'm okay with that because I don't usually drink water when I run, so that was all right with me.
The infamous 24.
So he comes into 24, and he's not really, you know, he's like smiling and...
24 miles, unbelievable.
Delusional, hallucinating.
It reminds me of that show 24. You ever watch that show? I don't think it's on anymore. 24? No? No 24? Oh.
And so he wasn't all there. He stood in front of the fire. He was shaking pretty hard.
Who would win between Chuck Norris and Jack Bauer? That's the question.
Once we got him into the checkpoint, that's when things really started degrading.
Definitely Chuck Norris. I mean, if Chuck Norris were running the Frozen Otter, Chuck Norris wouldn't even have to run the Frozen Otter. He would bear crawl all 64 miles.
Because he stopped moving, his body started locking up, he was dehydrated, because he ditched his water.
Jack Bauer, I'm on you. Why do I keep talking about Jack Bauer? This is stupid.
That's the worst I've ever seen Jake.
I'm going to fly right through 24. I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'll show whatever gear they'll ask, and I'm just going to move on. The Frozen Otter and I have some unfinished business. Time to suit up! Sandbags or whatever you want to call them. like 5 miles. That made a big difference today. Anyway. It's going to be a tough month. Only about 2% of the competitors each year actually complete the entire race. And in the history of the Frozen Otter, the list of the Frozen Few certainly lives up to its title, bragging only a handful of competitors' names that are engraved on this coveted plaque. So what entices an individual to get bludgeoned by this trail, only to be sent home humbled, licking his wounds from defeat, only to return the next year and do it all over again?
Once I was finished, even though I only got to 32, I was like, I could do this again. I gotta go again, and because you want to beat it, you don't want to let it beat you, and that's the biggest thing.
I have one goal, and that's finishing.
I can't let it go. I mean, I had it. I know I could do it.
It's about getting from point A to point B and pushing your body beyond the limits that you ever thought were possible.
Nothing like it out there. I don't think there's any other competition like that.
I love this race. Most runners in general, 5K, half marathon, full marathon. It's a different world than what this type of race is. You know, it's not done necessarily for the medal. It's not done to win. You know, you talk to most people who are doing this event, they're not talking about their pace. They're not talking about, you know, who's going to come in first, second, or third. You talk to most people who are doing this, and they'll say, I want to finish.
If he remembers to drink his water this year, I think he'll be all right.
There's a camaraderie. There's a common ground. Most people, we look at one another, and we recognize there's some sort of reason why we're doing it. And we all have our reasons, but we all want to finish. You know, and that's what makes this race so great. It truly is a brotherhood, a sisterhood. And though we come from perhaps different backgrounds, different states, different training styles, in some way, shape, or form, you know, even if it's just for that moment on the trail, we're kind of like family out there. And we're rooting for one another. Well, 12 months has quickly passed. In less than 24 hours, I will attempt this beast once again in my endeavor to get on the Frozen Few. And what happens if I fall short again? Well, there's a saying in Chicago, there's always next year.